I one time was given a lecture at a university, and a college student was at the back of the room. It got close to the question answer time, and I can tell he had a question, and he was rocking on his heels. We got to the question answer, sure enough, boom, right up his hand goes. That's the kind you don't want to talk to, right? But I said, okay, what's your question? He said, so how old do you think the earth is? How would you answer that? I just asked him, how old do you want it to be? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, as a scientist, I can give you all the kinds of methods to date the earth that you want. The results range from thousands of years to billions of years. They are all equally as scientific. But in the final analysis, I have to pick and choose which method I will accept and which one I will reject. So, how old do you want it to be? You know, every scientific method for dating the earth relies upon assumptions or guesses about the past. If you have good assumptions, guess what? You might be able to have some good dates, but if your assumptions are bad, you're likely going to have bad dates. To illustrate the problem that I'm talking about with all these dating methods, let's suppose you see a man digging a hole, and an immense hole in the ground here. Wow, you say, that's a big hole. I wonder how long it took him to dig that hole. So you observe the process and come up with some figures of how fast he digs. Judging from the size of the hole, you might conclude it took millions of years to dig it. We are making assumptions, aren't we? You know, one of the main assumptions is that the man was digging that hole at the same rate at all times. Do you know that? Of course not. Perhaps he rented big equipment until he ran out of money. That would make a huge difference in the amount of time, right? Well, you also assume the initial starting conditions, that there was no hole to begin with. How do you know that? You don't know that either. What if what really happened is that a meteor struck the earth and produced this big pit? Perhaps the man started digging to find the space object that very day. Well, you see, we'd be totally off with our calculations again, wouldn't we? Another assumption we have to make is that nothing was added or subtracted from the process. What if somebody else saw the same meteor and snuck in the middle of the night to find it and dug part of the hole? That'll mess up our calculations, won't it? Or perhaps somebody else decided he's going to fill in the hole. That'll also mess us up. You know, the only way to know for sure how long it took to make that hole is to have been there and watched the whole process, or have a reliable eyewitness that watched the whole process. The same applies to dating the earth. And we do have a reliable witness, the Word of God. He was an eyewitness. He knows when it occurred. And he wrote it down in a reliable historical record. All dating methods make assumptions. Are they reasonable or not?